Today we're going to talk about game shows and how they're creating the Jesuit high priests that rule this banking world, this monetary system of slavery, to where your birth certificate is their slave trade. And every time you sign something, they have authority to trade you. And every time you give them permission to do things, like if you watch a movie and they tell you that it's fiction, but it's actually reality, and then you just go, wow, what a great movie. You're giving them permission. If you go to church and you drink the blood of Christ, you eat his body. And then on Ash Wednesday, they put ashes on your pineal gland, like you're dead. Whenever you do these rituals, you're giving them permission. And the world needs to wake up and understand this. So the game shows are also giving them permission to create their world of bondage, right? So imagine Mother Earth, the great force of the Mother Earth and the great force of the masculine energies. And they created this world, this matrix, this whole world. And God is, in my book, God is everything. He's everything, everywhere. And the lowest energy is where he's not, like plastic or oil or anything that's deep into the ground, like black, oil. But he's very powerful in water. Water is a very powerful force, the atomic bomb, the hydrogen bomb. But what they're doing when they do game shows is they're giving you possessions. It's just like Christmas. Christmas is Satan Claus, of course. But you're putting the possessions under the tree, okay? And you're gathering your possessions. See, that's the winter solstice. You're not supposed to gather possessions. You're supposed to be at the North Pole. You're supposed to be in the summer where the sun rises. When the sun's highest in the sky, the days are the longest, okay? So what you're doing, and of course Adam is the sun and Eve is the moon. Of course, Eve is evening when the moon comes out, and Adam is the day, which is the sun, of course. But they've turned these things into characters, right? But let's get to these game shows. So let's say they're giving you this material possession, car. Most of it's made out of plastic and rubber. And I mean, it's really a dead entity. I mean, we used to have horses for transportation, which is something living, which is something God created. And the world was a better place because, when you feed the horse, it takes a crap, and you take the crap and you use it in your garden, and you make great vegetables, right? But no, the car has got a catalytic converter, which is poison. And it's spewing out toxic energy into the air, and you're polluting the planet. And not only that, they've got to destroy the planet in order to create all this technology. And then they create the cars to where if you drive in them and you get out the car, your body aches because you're being electromagnetically radiated, just like the airplanes. And of course, it's you're driving in dead energy, because the most of the car is made of plastic and the human, the resources of Mother Earth, and they're raping and pillaging Mother Earth. So let's say you go to the game shows, and God knows that this satanic ritual of destroying your own habitat, being like the Matrix movie says, you're a virus. And you're destroying your own habitat. And so you go to a game show and they say, here's a new car. And people are like, oh, yay. And they're screaming and they're acting like maniacs. And I could imagine the force of God is just looking at this individual as a lunatic. How could you ever come to heaven if you destroy your own habitat and then you celebrate the fact that there are people in the world destroying your own habitat? We barely have oceans anymore. The fish are dying. There's algae plumes. The California's on fire, where all your food comes from. They're droughting California, burning it, and then they're mudsliding it. So they're creating floods. They're burning it and then droughting it, and that's where all the good oxygen is from the Pacific Ocean. So they don't want you to have those fruits and vegetables. They want you to have GMO stuff. They poison your food. They poison your air, and you accept this. You accept it. And as long as you accept it, then God just lets you have free will. You flow like a river, and you do what you want. It's just like a rich guy. He can't go to heaven. they're not allowed in heaven. So what they do is they try to take as much from the earth, as they can in the short life that they live. And of course, they use an organ transplanting to stay alive. They'll take their brain and put it in another body. Sometimes they'll transport themselves into, once they were a man, then they become a woman. And they're doing this stuff through the surgical procedures. And of course, the donor card on the driver's license, which is your fictional character, your name in capital letters, your straw man, says that you're a donor. And then you're giving them permission to take your organs and give it to them. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the organs don't go to the poor. The organs go to the rich mostly. And that gives them authority to go in to take to pay police on the side and say, hey, this black kid in this neighborhood, he's a DNA match. And he's got some good organs. So go in there and stage a shooting and steal this kid's organs and pretend like he did something wrong and stage a false flag so I can have the guy's kidney, liver, organs, and skin and bones, and I can sell it on the market for a couple of $1 million. And if they're Rh negative, you can get a lot more, of course. But because that's why most of these demons are Rh negative, because they're stealing the body parts of Rh negative people. It's not that they're originally they're really animals. They're animals. Only animals live the way that they live. So let's go back to the game show. So they're gathering their possessions and everybody's cheering, yay! And everybody in the crowd's going, yay, he got a new car, he got his possessions, and they're screaming and they're jumping up and down like maniacs. Let me ask you a question. Has anyone ever worshiped the Creator in that much excitement? No. I've never seen anybody, even when you go to the churches, these are 501(c)(3)s, right? So you go to the churches and they're singing and they're dancing, right? But they're really worshiping the physical God, the spirit, not the spiritual God. The duality of the physical God, which is Satan, and they don't even know it because the priests signed a 501(c)(3) form, which is 51, which is Rome. So they give allegiance to Rome in the churches, and so they're going to worship the Roman God, which is the Pope, which is, he calls himself your papa or your father. And of course the Bible says you're not supposed to call anybody your father. And of course you got a guy named King James, which is a gay guy that was a Freemason writing the books. And of course the churches say, oh yes, King James, because it's been edited. The Bible's been edited hundreds and thousands of times to where only really awakened conscious people can truly understand what it means. So let's go back to these game shows. The price is this and win this and they're getting money and the possessions and it's unbelievable, or the wheel of this and it's unbelievable what they're doing. It's constant spiritual warfare. And then the mainstream media news is just sitting up there lying to you, diverting you from your divinity. The Hollywood puppets, I was watching a movie with Jim Carrey the other day, and it was Fun with Dick and Jane. And he gets, he was being indicted, right? And he goes to the bar and he drinks, and he gets up on the table and he's pretending like he's a puppet, on a string. And that's what society has become. They've become puppets. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what military has become. Nobody thinks for themselves anymore. And then your military captains and sergeants are all being bribed by the deep state. So we don't even have anybody that's honest anymore. Your FBI is totally corrupt. Your DOD, your DOJ, they've all been bribed and they openly admit it. I can pick up the phone and call the FBI and say, hey, I need some help. Somebody's trying to kill me. Okay, well, I got to go. Have a nice day. I'm a targeted individual. Okay, well, they're the ones that are targeting you. So why would you call them for help? Because they're the ones that are coordinating the targeting and the assassination that Rome wants to choose certain individuals to assassinate because they feel threatened by the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, if Rome is threatening anyone in trying to assassinate anyone. Obviously, these people that they're trying to assassinate are threatening the power structure, the slave bondage system, like Moses or King David or Abraham or Abram or anybody that threatens the power structure. Anyone who lives a life and refuses to curse his creator. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to a game show or you go to a church that files a 501(c), I'm sorry, but you're cursing your creator. When you drink the blood of the most sacred man that walked on the earth, whether it's Muhammad, a Buddha, or a Krishna, or a Tammuz, or Horus, or whatever your God is, and I don't really care what you call your God, but when you worship the most purest soul that your society knows to exist, even if it's Roman nose or crazy horse in the American Indians, but the purest souls, the ones that fight for their divinity, the ones that are true soldiers of the Creator instead of soldiers of Rome, these are the ones that are being persecuted and slaughtered. And by the way, the church, once you're an indigenous, once they prick your foot in the hospitals, from the day that you're born, they know that you're a donor or that you're a slave or you're a robot. They know this by your blood type, because the blood has the knowledge. So what they're doing in the hospitals is they're gaining the knowledge of what they want to do with you, whether they want you to be the president of the United States and indoctrinate the planet and incorporate it into a corpse, into a dead entity, and represent the deep state as a corporation, or they want you to be an organ transplant donor, or they want to make an example out of you, or whatever they choose to do. It's chosen at the day of your birth. It is. It's by bloodlines and family bloodlines. They know that certain families are more spiritual than others, and their goal is to get rid of the families that can see their eyes are wide open. They have Isis and Ra, and that Isis and Ra creates their electricity. And they become like Jedi Knights, and they're fighting to keep balance in the Force. Just using Star Wars as an analogy. So we're fighting to keep balance in the Force because the Force is unbalanced right now. There's too much evil on the planet. Way too much. I mean, from the schools to the politicians to the judges claiming that they're gods and that they make their own laws above God's law. I mean, look at the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. This is really bad. And when this happens, there's no other thing except genocide. Nothing. Genocide will exist because you're killing yourself. And the goats will be divided from the sheep, the left from the right, the yin from the yang, the flesh from the spirit. And this is the age that we live in. So let's get back to the game shows. Spiritual warfare, 100%, And then, of course, when you get that prize, you got to go pay taxes on it. A lot of people don't realize when they win a car, they got to go, pay $4,000 in sales tax and licenses and, $5,000-6,000 in license. And most people don't even have that cash. So they can't even drive the vehicle. It's all a joke. It's a joke. Most of them sell the car. I know of an organization that gave away a brand new Corvette, very expensive, $50,000, $60,000 vehicle. And the guy couldn't pay the taxes. So he sold it back to the store for almost half of its value. So the entire giveaway program became a profit. It was a joke. The world is a stage, ladies and gentlemen. And the game shows are just one minor part of their massive spiritual warfare that they do, because they know that if you live a life that you are service to self individual, and that you're gathering possessions for the winter, and you're hunting and gathering, and you want everything to be yours instead of being a giving soul. And ladies and gentlemen, working for a corporation and having the facade that you're doing something good for the world, you're very mistaken. You cannot work for a corpse, a dead entity, and do something good for the world. It's impossible. So you're just like the story of Jesus Christ. You got to separate yourself from all things that are corpses, corporations, and you've got to become a prophet of the Creator. And it's what I've done in my life, and it's certainly what YouTube and Facebook and all these. They've even convinced the local police that we're haters. Ladies and gentlemen, we're far from haters. We're lovers of humanity. We love our brethren so much that we're willing to give our lives, because once you become a prophet on this planet, the whole freaking planet of covert, organized, secret societies and secret oath comes after you. And they ruin your life. They won't let you work. They won't let you live. They won't let you drive. They won't let you, cross the border. It's unbelievable how they treat a person who breaks free of this possession, service to self mentality. And, that's all I can say about game shows. Beware of the spiritual battle that you're facing. Even if you win the prize and you give it away, it's dirty money. It is. It's dirty money. So how do you have anything to do with it? I hear people say, oh, this Hollywood movie star gave $1 million away and to a charity. Well, ladies and gentlemen, most of these charities or nonprofits are the ones that are creating all the diseases and the problems. And then they pretend, like the ravenous wolf does, to be grandma. Well, they're not grandma. And the Little Red Riding Hood better start asking questions, because it's just not grandma. So they're the ones that have created all the problems on the planet. So when they're giving $1 million to an organization, it's like some type of sacrificial ritual. It's got nothing to do with delivering your soul out of bondage. How does it have anything to do with it? So even if you win the money and you give it away, it's still dirt money. Ladies and gentlemen, on this planet, we don't need money. This is mental illness to think that you need money. You're mentally ill because you don't. How do you need money when the earth contains every resource that you need? Every healing element is on this earth. They don't go to the moon and get it, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, they've never been to the moon and they've never been to Mars. They lie about that too. But, everything that we need is on this earth. So why do we need to channel? It's kind of like a redirect system, okay? So I just want you to think about this. So instead of brothers and sisters and people, loving people and helping people, what they're telling you is that you've got to go to them in order to help other people. And that is mental illness. Why do I have to go to the bank or go to my job in order to be a giving soul? All you need is communities with people helping people, kind of like Little House on the Prairie. And if somebody needs a house, you build a house. If somebody needs food, you grow food. And everybody has a task to do, and everybody shares their abundance. That's all you need to survive. And then we can be free. We don't need driver's license, passports, certificates, permission from the Queen, permission from the King. If you want to go to Tahiti or Hawaii or whatever, well, of course, Hawaii is being directed energy weapon and destroyed by hurricanes, man-made weather. But if you want to go somewhere, you need money. So that's one form of permission. And if you don't have it, you're not going to go. And then you need permission from your boss. Then you need permission from the government to travel. And it's a joke. I just want you to think about that. Even when you get in your car and you drive down the street, I need permission. And then there's a police officer going, oh, I'm going to make sure that you have permission to travel from one place to the other. I want you to think about that. And then they're driving around with their guns and their weapons and they're ready to kill you because you don't have permission. Wait a minute, you don't have permission from the gods of this flesh to drive, and they've been brainwashed. Why do you need permission from anybody to travel from one place to the other? I thought the Constitution says you have the right to travel freely without being harassed. But ladies and gentlemen, not only do we not honor God's law, but we don't honor the Constitution at all. So we don't. It's total treason what's happening on this planet, and the world better wake up quick, because you're going to wind up with nothing. They're going to take you down to where you have no food and water, and they're going to force you to bow to these false gods and say, hey, you know, I give my soul to you. And they're going to force you to do that. And they're going to threaten your child's life. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that you're protecting your kids by selling your soul to the devil, you're very mistaken. Because if you sell your soul to the devil, then you might as well be selling your kid's soul to the devil. Because the decisions that you make affect 10 generations of your kids. So, and the Bible states that very clearly. So if you go on a game show and you get money, dirty money, from propaganda networks and liars, and you're giving that money into, you're putting that into your family, it's dirt money. And it's better off not to have it, because you're cursing your brain. Your mind cannot function and see reality. It's a curse. And this is how you remain to be a goat, a servant of man, instead of a servant of the Creator. Big difference. There's two. So that's, in a nutshell, what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. So right now I'm reading on television that there's flash flood warnings. They're always wanting states of emergency so that they can, you know, the state of emergencies allow them to commit treason against the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. It says, hey, you know, we're in a state of emergency, so we're you know there is no common law, you know. It's only, martial law. And that's what flash forward warnings. Oh my God. And here's the thing. They're the ones that are creating the flash floods through the geoengineering programs. So your state of emergency and them taking away your common law is being done by these states of emergency. And they're creating it. You remember, the devil always creates a problem, and then they pretend like they're the solution. So, and then eventually they're going to force you into a war with the weather. You're going to go to war with Mother Earth. And all the nations are going to unite into one world religion, one world government because of weather. It happened, that same thing happened in the days of Noah. And then there's going to be so many people that bow down to this false lie that there'll only be like one family that'll be on an ark. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's, how many people do we have on this planet that are not willing to sell their soul, you know? And that's, and probably there's not many. And that's what the story of Noah is. That there'll be very, very few that will inherit the earth. Because the only way to inherit the earth is not to be deceived by the trickster devil. If you're being deceived by the devil and you think all this weather is made by the Creator and you're blaming it's his fault. It's the Creator's fault. No, it's not. It's man creating all the tyranny and the treason and the weather and the hurricanes and the fires in California and the earthquakes, and they're using directed energy weapons to blow up volcanoes. And all you got to do is go to YouTube and you'll see people that film this stuff. They'll film the directed energy weapons, creating arcs. You can't see the dew because it's microwave technology. But that's what they're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're in the days to where man is going to manipulate the weather, the days of Noah. And the people that gather the possessions and serve themselves during this genocide, and God's looking for the purest of souls, you're in big trouble. And of course, then there's the species that are out there killing people. They're killing people for the church, for the 501c3 corporations. So no, these people have a very horrifying destiny, and so do all their children. And then they're doing it. They're so mentally ill that they're doing it because they think that they're saving their kids. And ladies and gentlemen, the only way to save your kids is to turn away from the dark side It's the only way you can save your family. That's it. Have nothing to do with it. You know, here, go kill this person covertly. No, I don't think so. Imagine a world that nobody conforms to their orders. How beautiful this planet would be. Think about it.